In this video, I'm going to show you the method that I'm going to use to try and stop my bees swarming in a flow hive. Now, I really enjoyed using my flow hive this year. The boxes now are completely full brood box, and the super is pretty much full. I'm coming back later this week to do the honey harvest video, so if you're interested to see how much honey I get from my flow hive super, definitely hit the subscribe button. But what I want to show you today is the method that I'm going to use in order to try and stop the bees swarming. I'll do this one again next year, and I'll do it on all of my flow hives going forward. And what I'm going to show you is a vertical split called a demaree, and I don't believe anybody has done this in the UK on a flow hive before. So I find it very difficult with the flow hive to try and kind of work out in my mind what's the best swarm management technique. At the moment, I'm on an 8-frame Langstroth single brood box, and the bees have completely filled that out. So already I'm introducing a swarming trigger into the bees because they're limited by the amount of space they've got in the brood nest. I've got a flow hive super full of honey, and I'm going to break the seals on that, and I'm going to extract it later on in the week. Now what that's going to do is that's going to drain all of the honey out, and I'm going to have a nice empty super, and I'm going to give the bees in the hive as a whole additional space to store honey. That does pretty much nothing to stop the bees swarming. It's downstairs in the brood nest where you really need to pay attention, because by restricting the space in the brood nest, that is a surefire way to get your bees to go and live in someone's chimney. So what you could do, really easy method, is you could just split this hive into 2 hives. You can do it in the spring, can do it in the summer, you can do it when your bees are strong enough to be able to do a split. But I'm not a fan of doing splits to control swarming, because it's okay when you're kind of doing it on 1 hive and then 2 hive and then 4 hive and maybe 8 hives. But as soon as you start getting up into the 16s, then 32s and 64s and 128s and 256 and 512s, and you kind of get the idea that I know those numbers off by heart because I've done this video before. It soon becomes, especially with flow hives, very, very difficult to keep up with the cost of purchasing that equipment. And the reason that I really do like the flow hive, like I have had so much fun with this flow hive already this year, but the reason I like it is that I think it suits people who want to have 1, maybe 2, maybe 3 hives in their garden, and they have no interest in turning those 3 hives into 6 hives and then 12 hives. They just want to keep some hives in their garden, and they just want to get some honey from a tap. Really, really cool. So this method is for you if you just want to keep a couple of hives in the garden and you don't just want to watch the bees swarm every year, because that is quite irresponsible, just letting the bees go out and swarm. Could be flying out there, infecting the local area with diseases. This method here should give you the ability to start moving boxes around into different configurations in order to try and mitigate swarming. So there we go, that's the preamble. It's a vertical demaree split. If you've seen this channel before, you'll know this method. If you're watching this as a first time as a flow hive user, I reckon you certainly won't have seen it yet. I've not seen anybody use this method on a flow hive. The method is so simple though. All we're not doing a horizontal split, taking 1 flow hive and splitting it into 2. We're doing a vertical split, which is taking the brood box, lifting it up to the top and replacing the brood box underneath with a new brood box full of foundation, and we make sure that the queen's downstairs. In order to do this manipulation, you need 2 things. You need a new brood box, exactly the same size as your original flow hive brood box. You need a box full of frames and foundation, that's included in the first one, but you also need a second queen excluder. The only reason I say that is you want to kind of restrict the drones up from the top box, and if you're going to get any virgins running around, you don't want the virgins ever to run around in your flow hive supers. So I've spoken about that way too much. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it now, and I'm going to set this colony here up for a vertical split. So the first thing you need to do, and this is definitely going to be a theme in my videos, is that you take off the horrible wooden gable roof. I cannot stand this roof. There is just nothing to like about it. Can't get a good size feeder underneath it. Can't stack it up on the floor and put boxes on it. It's made of wood, so it's going to rot. I hate the flow hive roof. Then what we're going to do is we're going to start moving some boxes around. I'm going to take them out of shot, because what you need to do is you need to strip down everything, take everything away, and then we're going to build it back up again from scratch. I forgot to mention, this manipulation, you must be able to find your queen. Cannot do it if you cannot find the queen. So get your glasses out, get your magnifying glasses out, make sure you can find her, or get someone to come along with you that can help you find that queen. Right, so I said it'd be an easy manipulation. Does not come any easier than this. Take everything off, put it somewhere safe, get yourself a new brood box, and you put your new brood box into the original brood position. This is an 8-frame brood box, but I've got a gap in there, got a gap for 1 single frame. What you need to do now is go over to your original brood box that you've stacked off somewhere else and go and find the frame that's got the queen on it. One frame, preferably a frame of capped emerging brood. Take that frame with the queen and we're going to put that downstairs into this new brood area. Right, so there we go. That's the frame with my queen on it. See if you can find the queen. Try and get the frame with the most capped emerging brood, but you know what, it's not the end of the world. As long as you've got a little bit of capped brood on there and you've got a frame that isn't just a frame of stores, that will work fine. So you take this frame and you place it downstairs into this new brood box. As far as the bees are concerned, that's their new brood area now. We're going to put a queen excluder on, put the Flow Hive super back on, and then we're going to lift that original brood nest all the way up to the top and block it off with a queen excluder. Right, first thing we're going to do, we're going to take our queen excluder, place that onto the new brood box like that. We're then going to take our Flow super, place that back into the middle position directly above the new brood box. Then we're going to take our second queen excluder, place that on top like that. Then we're going to get the original brood box, put that on there and add the last frame of foundation. So that's the manipulation complete. You need to come back in 8 days and go through the top brood box because they will create emergency queen cells. If you just leave it now, the bees will swarm. So this is a guaranteed method to make your bees swarm, but it's a really good method to try and mitigate them swarming. But you need to follow the next step, which is coming back in 8 days' time, going through this box here, taking down every single emergency queen cell that you can find, and then you can leave the bees. And this method here will buy you maybe 3 or 4 weeks throughout the season. I do it as a proactive method. I wouldn't recommend it as a reactive method, but you can do it as a reactive method as well. So if you go and find swarm cells downstairs, you can do this, but don't come back to me if they swarm because it's not a guaranteed method that way at all. What will happen now is that the bees will gravitate downstairs. All of the nurse bees that emerge upstairs here will gravitate downstairs to the open brood that the queen will start laying downstairs. You've given them a box full of foundation, so that's going to really satisfy their need to kind of draw stuff out, and that in itself helps them stop swarming. After about 2.5 weeks, once all of this brood up here is emerged, what you need to do is you need to make a decision on what you're going to do next. If you don't want to do any splits and you're really worried about them storing honey upstairs, once all of the brood is emerged, just take this box away. Take it away, wash out the frames, get the honey out of them, and then you can just go ahead and do this manipulation again. Sounds a little bit confusing, but this manipulation here will buy you 3 to 4 weeks. I will follow this up later on in the season to show you exactly what I'm going to do with these bees. For me, I'm going to overwinter in a double brood configuration using this brood box and this brood box. But this method here of a vertical split is all about configuring the boxes in a different way above and below that Flow super, with the 2 main aims here to get as much honey as we possibly can in the Flow super and to try and make the bees stop swarming. If you want to see what comes up next in this series, definitely hit the subscribe button. We'll be doing loads more with our Flow Hives this year and next year.